Back with Steve Ward, and Steve is obviously from Invincia. All right, he is their vice president over there, and he's been coming through and walking us through the product and kind of the approach. All right, and this is kind of unusual because it's one of the things where we did some work earlier on with Bill Murray in our editorial about fighting off phishing attacks and things of that nature. So you got to know, Steve, that I'm getting pinged with all sorts of things here. All right. And you're invited to join our chat, which is right below our viewing window later on, and add in any comments if you want. But one of the things I'm getting is cost. Then I'm getting something else about, how virtualization of the browser environment compares to segregating environment via hardware. A lot of different things are coming up here, which is kind of good. That's what this is all about. So go ahead, take it on.
Yeah, sure. As it relates to cost, we cost out like you would expect per user subscription license, annual subscription renewal. Included in the subscription is all your maintenance and the upgrades that we push. And I always hate, and maybe this is a cop out. I apologize if it is. I always hate to give a retail seat of one kind of cost because then people do math in their head and they say, "Oh man, that's a." We're volume based in terms of the way we deal with our clients. So if there's a specific question, hey, what would my environment cost out to? You can drop me a line. It's steve.ward at Invincea, INVINCEA.com. I'll gladly answer that offline. But keep in mind, there's a bit of a premium because it actually works in comparison to what you would pay for like an AV suite. But it's in that type of fashion.
Yeah, they're kind of answering not for the massive enterprise environment. They're saying, well, the Invincia website mentions no pricing. This usually means too expensive for the small business. 10 to 20 users. That's and this is all live on the chat, so you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome to come in later on and fill everybody in as to
Sure.
Opinions and things like that.
Sure. Actually, it's quite the opposite. In the smaller environment, it works out to be a very, very economical control. And when you're talking about a small business environment where you aren't going to have, tons of layered defense in place, what we've found, is that Invincia becomes a very attractive because it's true prevention. And not only that, it gives you intel into, the attack vector you're dealing with. So, the pricing not being on the website is actually to keep the guys at 100,000 seats from doing the math and saying, well, that's going to be $80 million. No way I'm buying it. Okay. It works out better in a small business environment than it does in a large, in terms of just looking at the retail rate. So don't be freaked out by that. Again, it's something I'll gladly answer, and we can get you there, no problem. You mentioned, Joe, the difference between, sort of the hardware virtualization, right, and the browser virtualization. Is that where that question was going?
Yeah, it actually was put out there by Phil, and just to get back to it, he wondered how the virtualization of the browser environment compares to segregating the environment via hardware, and he uses an example here, as in the Iron Key. All right,
Okay.
which is a product that we really look favorably on.
Sure, sure. Yeah, so what we're looking at with respect to the way we approach the world is, we're saying we can do it without having to racket stack gear. Okay, even the threat analyzer that we provide is it is an ESX server, so it's a virtual server, right? You just plop it out there. You're not having to buy any hardware. You're not having to change, the hardware landscape in terms of what you've got in place. We're pushing out, an app. We can effectively do it as an app, using the VM, on that desktop, right, or that laptop, right, to drive containment. Okay, and what's more, and I think again the real value proposition for the industries and the enterprises that we deal with is it is going to look and breathe and feel and behave exactly like the native application is because of the way we've configured it. So the user really changes nothing. We kind of like to say, on Monday, your user is going out and they're getting themselves infected, right? Through the browser, through IE, through right? On Tuesday, after you deployed us, they still go out and run into those infections, right? They don't change anything. You actually kind of encourage them to go out in the wild and run into these things because now you're collecting valuable threats. So I don't know if that's a sufficient enough answer, in comparison between us and IronKey and all that kind of stuff. And that's something, more, in line with one of my SEs, who I believe we're going to have talking on Thursday's call, Joe, that could go in a little bit more technical detail on that.
Well, that's actually good to know, Steve. Thanks for bringing the SE on the Thursday call, because those are the kind of questions that we'll wind up getting pounded with,
Sure.
And I'll be standing in the middle saying, "Gee, I don't know."
Yeah. Right? So they roll me out as the good looker, and then they save the technical stuff for somebody way more dangerous than me.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Hey, listen, we're up on time here. It's good to have you on to the program.
I appreciate
And
it.
don't forget, we'll get you all synced up for Thursday. In the meantime, we did a good run of Skype and our first call.